Hey, everybody. Quite a 24 hours we've been through. I hope everybody got a chance to see Kamala Harris's speech today, in which she called all of us to action and particularly to continue to serve one another. And I'm grateful for that in a lot of ways, but mostly because I was already planning on doing a podcast today about the hats that I'm knitting for charity. And I have a lot of hats here. I've been, working out my pre-election stress by knitting hats. And I'm also presenting these to my Fiber Guild this weekend. So I'm going to start by just showing off again the Joy Hat, because it's still pertinent and timely, and we can have joy in our work, and we have work ahead of us. So this was knit in swish worsted. It's called the Patriotic Joy Hat. If you haven't seen earlier versions of this podcast, Patriotic Joy Hat. All right. This is a keeper. This is not going to charity, by the way. I want to give a quick sock update. I did on October 31st finish the October Grocery Girls Sock Bash socks. Plenty of links to this in previous podcasts, but they turned out great and they're done. And the November Sock Bash socks, the theme is DK. So it's a heavier weight sock. I have one child who's vegan and won't wear wool. And so I am knitting Karen's Simply Soft socks. This is a basic 48 stitch sock. I am getting 22 stitches to the inch on size 4 needles. So yes, this is a DK weight sock. I'm knitting it DK weight, even though it feels a little heavier than that. And I know Simply Soft is pretty much a light worsted, but I'm knitting it to DK weight gauge. And this, I don't know if you can see how blue this is, but this is blue gingham, I believe. Yeah, blue gingham in Simply Soft. And these will be bed socks for a Christmas gift for one of the kids. All right. So hats. I said something in an earlier podcast about stash busting is a lie. And I have learned, or I would like to amend that statement. And I think stash busting is a lie when it comes to buying yarn for a blanket or deciding to make a blanket that's large, because you always run out of yarn, and that blanket for me always winds up in the UFO pile. So stash busting is a lie for blankets, I think, in particular. But for hats, stash busting, those single skeins that you have lying around that are novelty or a bright color or leftovers, I think it is possible to do stash busting with hats. And I have been churning out hats. So the first one I'm going to show you, and I'm actually knitting this again because it's so easy. This is the worsted basic beanie. This is also for one of the kids for Christmas. If you don't like the hat that you made, by the way, put a pom-pom on it. I like this hat, but I decided to put a pom-pom with some purple in it. I got this pom-pom and I got some of the yarn behind me. I think I mentioned this in Pittsburgh at a very nice yarn store, which I did mention in a earlier podcast. The Yarn and Moon craft store is just a beautiful, beautiful place. So I got the pom-pom there. But this is leftover, what is it? Lion Brand Heartland and Sirdar Jewel Spun. So this is all acrylic, but the purple really goes nicely with the stripes in the purple. I'm glad it kind of ended on a purple note also. Again, this is for a child that does not wear wool. So that's a hat. I wanted to show you guys a hat that I knit in 2015. If you don't like knitting in the round, and if you want to make something with a bulky yarn, any weight yarn that has a wide stripe on it. Any Noro yarn that you might have that lovely ball of Noro that you don't know what to do with. This is called the Jasper Toque. And I think it's a paid pattern, but my entire guild in 2015, all of us knit this one. And I think the reason we did it is as an exercise, you do knit this completely flat. And I'm going to show you how it works. You knit a parallelogram. And you start down at the bottom. You cast on 14 inches worth of stitches. So you need to do a little bit of a gauge swatch, just 10 stitches, and just kind of zip back and forth for a little bit to see about what gauge you're going to get, and cast on about 14 inches. Go a little more if you need to, but you don't need to get fancy about it because it's a hat. And you're going to knit a parallelogram where from this edge, you're going to decrease here and increase. You're going to decrease here and increase here. And knit straight up, a flat, back and forth flat. And as you can see, as I put these stripes in here, when you do that with a self-striping wide stripe yarn, it'd be nice with a self-striping narrow stripe. In fact, I think the one that the designer did was in sock yarn. But we were allowed to do this in any yarn we wanted. It's got a nice purl bump in it. And with these wide stripes and a bulky, it's a really quick knit. So you knit this parallelogram, and then you loop it around and sew up the seam like that. And you've got a tube. And once you have sewn the tube together, and there is a seam, let me try to find the seam here. There it is. Okay. It's kind of nice because it began and ended on a green gray, but there is a seam there, right in there. You have that tube, and then you find 4 points on the top. You fold it in half and mark either end, and then fold it in half the other way and mark those two ends of the tube you've made. And from the outside in, you sew those seams up. So there are 4 mini seams at the top of that, if you can see that. And that makes the hat. And it's a really comfortable hat. And like I said, this is one that you can knit in any gauge. I knit this, like I said, it's from 2015. I knit this in, I had this written down in here. What was it? This is, oh, that's terrible. It's a Reynolds. That's what it is, a Reynolds yarn. And it's a bulky. And I have a link to my Ravelry project. You can go and find this. Gina is what it's called. Reynolds Gina Bulky. And yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. And I have held on to this one since 2015 because I just really like it. All right, I'm going to show you one of the more complicated hats that I knit in my lifetime. I would not give this. I would give this as a Christmas gift if I was going to start over and knit it again. This is called the Passerine Hat. I do think that, by the way, this Jasper Toque would be a fantastic charity hat because it goes so fast. This is the Passerine Hat, knit in sock yarn with beautiful line of birds. And there is a repeat. It is 2 repeats of the chart. Yeah. But wow, this was work because you really have to follow the chart all the way across. But it turned out great. I love it. And 2 colors of sock yarn, and you use that dark color on the border. You cast on with that. But another one I'm very proud of. Okay, charity hats. Yes, I think that toque, that Jasper Toque, is a perfect one for any weight yarn, and you can go as bulky as you want, and you knit it flat. And so, yeah, I mean, easy peasy. And I highly recommend that one. The other hat that I love knitting, love knitting, is the leftover sock yarn hat. before I show you that one, let me show you this other one because this one's just an oddball. This is I just cast this on as a DK weight hat. And this is such old yarn. This is no longer, this is out of commission. They don't make Dale Garn Folk. They don't make yarn anymore. Dale, they sell Swedish sweaters. They sold their yarn company, the yarn aspect of their company. But yeah, I bought this in the 80s, I am sure, when I was working at a yarn store in Harvard Square in Massachusetts. But I finally, because I needed to make some charity hats, made this one. This is the Dale and the solids, and then the color work is fell down. All right, is Adriaphil Knit Call, which is a super wash. Let me show you the top of this. I have another color of it here. It is an expensive yarn by the yard. It really is. I had a partial ball of this. I had knit a baby sweater with it, I think. It is DK weight, superwash, and self-striping with little dashes in one stripe to make like little individual stitches. And it is at Webb's $10.99 for 137 yards. So it's pricey, but what you get for it in terms of superwash and colors, if you have a precious baby to knit for, or if you want to make a really nice hat, like I like how this one turned out, but this was so easy. I used as the base of this, I used the Soho knit Soho pattern for a ribbed hat, and then I just started knitting stockinette after I got 30 rows done of the 1x1 rib. But I like how this one turned out. I like how the top turned out, and this is going to charity. It is wool, but yeah, this one's going to charity. And from very old yarn, and I was really pleased that this Dale Garn had no moth damage after coming from the 80s. This is 30-year-old yarn. Okay. Leftover sock yarn. I love knitting with leftover sock yarn, and this Losi hat stands for leftover sock yarn. You carry 2 strands together at the same time on US 6s. It's a free pattern, so I'm going to tell you all about it. 121 stitches, knit 3, purl 1. And this is one I just finished today. This is not sock yarn per se. This is a blend. It's got some alpaca in it, I think, but it's really old yarn. Also, it was one skein of variegated yarn, and then I took 3 coordinating colors of solid, and just the variegated goes all the way through, and the solids change every 10 or 11 rows. And then the orange on top, this is an I-cord top knot at the top. 3 stitches knit on double pointed needles, and then you just push them all the way to the other end and knit them again, and keep doing that, and it knits you a tube. And then I tied a knot in it. So this one is double yarn thickness. It is nice and warm. And these leftover sock yarns are designed, sock yarn hats are designed to be flipped up. But it's warm, really warm. And so this one's going to charity. And then this other one I knit, I did a fade. I'm very happy with how this one turned out. I started double with one kettle dyed blue, and then I had some variegated that had that blue in it, and it had some gray and purple in it as well. I knit double the kettle dyed blue, then I changed one strand of that to the variegated, then I changed the other strand to the variegated and knit that double for a while. Then I switched one of the strands to purple, and then the other strand to purple, and then another strand to a dark purple variegated because I just was running out of yarn. So I went dark purple variegated at the top with a strand of purple. I did not double that at the end. But isn't that fade nice? And I was inspired to do this fade by another free hat pattern. It is on Ravelry. The Passerine Hat is on Ravelry, but it is also on Etsy. So you can buy this. This is a paid pattern. You can buy that on Etsy as well. This other Losi is free. But Miss Babs has, and I haven't tried this one, but it's really cool. This is called the Mash It Up hat, and it is also a free pattern. But you can see where instead of striping it using coordinating variegated colors and making just a complete fade going from top to bottom, she actually fades stripes. So there'll be a stripe here of double of one color and a stripe here of double of the next color and so forth. And at the top, it looks like she just did some variegated on this one and some speckle. She did, leftovers of little oddballs of a more precious kind of dye. But you can see that most of these are either a very light speckle or a solid. So, and I'm sure she did this ribbing in double, the same color, solid color, knit one, purl one. And that's sock yarn. So you could fade it this way and make it stripy, or you could fade it going from one color to another throughout the whole hat. But I'm really happy with how this one turned out. And I'll show you. It is knit 3, purl 1. So you can wear this inside out. It's in the round. And I did use German twisted cast on for the hats, for both of these hats, to get that stretch. And I found with German twisted cast on, I don't have to knit 3 rows first because it's a thick enough cast on with an extra yarn that I can see that I'm not twisting it. Size 6 needles, so quick and fun. You keep knitting it because you want to see what the fade's going to look like. So that's really fun. All right, so make some hats for charity this season if that's your bag. Do something for people less fortunate than we are. We are fortunate because we have skill and a love for yarn, and oftentimes more yarn than we need. I do, and I'm very blessed to have a stash. So using some of it up to help keep someone's head warm in the wintertime is a good thing. And it is a time to have a mission to help others. And that is what keeps us sane. I'm just going to say that. That is what keeps us sane in the dark times. So I will see you next week. And I'm hoping by next week, it may not come in time, but I have my advent calendar yarn coming. I only ordered one. I am going to unbox it, all of it. I'm going to spoil the surprise. I am going to unbox it on the podcast if it arrives by next week. They said they've shipped it, so we'll see. But I hope everyone has a good week. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you next week. Thanks.